one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father which art in heaven, dear Lord God, is once again that we come humbly before your throne of grace to give you thanks for your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Dear Lord God, we thank you for all your many blessings bestowed upon each and every one of us, upon our family members and the citizens of Dillon. We ask that you continuously bless our Mayor Pro Tem and City Council and department heads on tonight, as well as our city manager and our city attorney, as we make the decisions for the betterment of all the citizens of Dillon and for the city employees. And in everything we do, we pray we be careful to give your name the glory, your name the honor, and your name the praise. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First, I can give a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting, July 13th, 2020. Can I get a motion? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay? All right, well, I'll start out, a little bit in review of the meeting last time. I don't want ever anyone in Dillon or on this council to think that I've been on council for 25-some years and is acting Mayor Pro Tem now, that I'm getting secondary gain out of this. So I am formally removing all bids that I have with the city. And that is, I'm fine with this. If you want to send them, I'll take care of my patients that are part of the, part of the city. I'll accept the insurance. I'm going to do all that. I'm not turning my back on anybody. But as far as formal contract with the city, I'm removing my bids. I want to also make it clear that we direct Glenn to direct the department heads. We as individuals do not tell anyone to do anything. That being said, it's all right to call and say, Bert, somebody asked me about a ditch, you mind taking a look at it? I don't think that's a bad thing. But as far as directing policy and commanding allegiance in meetings, I do not think that this is the way this is supposed to work. We are a council. We make the decisions. We direct Glenn, and Glenn directs to our very capable and good department heads. And I don't know how you can handpick better people to serve this city. And I don't think I'll get any argument with that. So that being said, we're as far as COVID, we've got a couple of issues. We've had pretty high census in the hospital. If you look at the death rate in Dillon versus the number of cases, it's not favorable. I think statewide and even countrywide, they run about maybe 2% mortality, and in Dillon it's almost 4%. I really think that a lot of this is lack of testing, lack of availability of testing, and it's a little cumbersome to be tested. Still, for the most part, if you are in good health, without diabetes, obesity, heart failure, that you probably, if you contract the disease, you'll be fine. There are things that we can do. There's remdesivir, there's steroids, and certainly supports that we can offer you if your disease progresses. I think that we dodged the bullet on the hurricane. We had only about, Ben said he had a half inch at his house. I don't want water, but it sure would be nice to know where we are with what we've done, with the things that we've done with the storm drainage, and I think we're making good inroads there. Maybe we'll be able to correct some of that going down First Street pretty soon. And that's all I have. Glenn?
We'll follow up with COVID-19. We haven't done anything as far as a resolution or an ordinance to require face masks. And as I look around, not only at this meeting, but throughout town, I see people wearing them, see some people don't wear them. However, I think as a policy-making council, that we should recommend it. Not mandate, but recommend it.
Well, and
when possible.
I've thought about, and I'm glad that I haven't, just from a standpoint of position and Mayor Pro Tem putting something in the paper. And the things that I put in the paper this week will be wrong in 2 weeks. I think right now the research, I'm not sure what the masks do, but it represents that you love your fellow man. It doesn't help you unless you're wearing an N95. Very few of those are around, none of them are in the room. But it doesn't need to be worn if you're 10 feet away. But if you get within 10 feet of somebody, throw your mask up. And it's that kind of attitude that we need to take.
I know that Dillon Herald has constantly been putting in the newspaper about wearing masks or recommending people wearing masks. The governor came out a week or so ago with the latest executive order, and one of the things was Executive Order 2020-50, which rescinded most all of his other executive orders that he had put in place since COVID-19. Restaurants, he's allowing up to 50% occupancy rate in restaurants. Tables have to be 6 feet apart. Limit seating per table to 8 unless it's the same family or household. Gatherings, which he gave definitions of gatherings to be anything from being an amphitheater, a football stadium, any sporting event, a racetrack, and so on and so forth. 50% occupancy there if it's indoor, or no more than 250 if it's outdoor. And all attendees must wear face masks, which is one of the things, the reason we backed off a month ago on the festival. Not sure in what direction that was going to go. There was no way we would be able to follow the protocols that you would have to follow. And then the party that is responsible for the gathering shall take all steps to comply with all the guidelines. Now, these ordinances are executive orders that he has put in place, and especially the last one, number 50. It does not apply to state meetings or official business of the state, or any county and city state meetings or official business of the state, nor does it apply to public schools and elections, meaning that you don't have an occupancy rate there. You do not have to follow the guidelines of 6 foot apart, things of that nature. But we're still doing it here, and I think we should. And that brings
Good example. How you do it.
And that brings me to my next question. I don't know how many of you remember that we were going to meet here today. I know Tina sent out a text late this afternoon. I put it in my letter. And I think we just need to continue to meet here, because if we're going to follow what we're doing here, most of these folks would be in the actual council chambers, because it would be staff taking up most of the seats that would be available. So if you don't mind, we will plan for our next meeting in September to be here as well. We talked about last month buildings being condemned, being tore down, and one of them that we talked about is 200 block of East Main Street, which is owned by the Madison Estate. That would be building directly across from Council on Aging and what I call the old medicine shop. But we just got it quote. And one person just to give us some idea. This would be the demo of the building, doing asbestos survey and the asbestos demo. $30,500 is what that cost would be. And maybe the survey correctly. Is that what we spent on that one on Hampton Street?
Yes, sir.
About the same amount of money?
Yes, sir.
So then in that case, we did it and we took that, we paid for it and we put a lien on that property. So whenever that property on Hampton Street is sold, we get our $30,000 or whatever we spent for that. That would be pretty much the same way in this case. If we tore that building down, that would get our money back from the property owner. We would have to put a lien on it. Now, there may be another option, and that option would be if we can get the property owner, and we tried this on Hampton Street, he didn't agree with it. If we can get this particular property owner just to give us the property, then we pay $30,000, but at least would y'all be interested in going in that direction?
Is that 30,000 budgeted?
No.
Maybe next year's budget, we ought to,
And well, I guess what I could do is also ask if they would be interested in doing it that way. Probably as far as.
Why are you doing that? Since the last meeting, I guess when we saw the meeting, the old Cooper Street home in front of the Methodist Church.
The brick building there.
Yeah. That's an eyesore.
That one, it was an old funeral home. We talked about that one time. There's some other issues there.
Yes, sir. It's got a lot of issues there.
Well, we'll see what we can find out. Do we know who owns that one, Ron?
I want to say Alan Watts bought that property. Yes, sir.
We'll put that on and see what. That's the one directly across from the church.
The question I have is that if we tear them down and they're not doing anything with it, we can't do anything with it. I mean, all we do is keep it cut or what?
Pretty
How
much.
aesthetically can we keep it?
Well, I mean, the only thing we would do is keep it cut if they get to keep it cut.
Yeah.
If they continue to own the property. If we got it, then.
Is there any long game in the way we could take that property or?
Would be, the only other way would be eminent domain, which is, a stretched out type deal. And we've done eminent domain years ago when we did the spray field. But, at that point in time, I wish Jack was here to answer this, but if memory serves me correctly, you just don't get the property. You have to pay fair market value, whatever a good decides that is.
That's the one.
Well, this would be prior to tearing it down. And then if you got the property, through the domain, grants don't pay for things that you got through eminent domain to improve. So you still have costs.
Do we have any control over safety concerns if arises, like that wall getting ready to fall on one side? Or
No,
we don't.
I'm not a lawyer. I wouldn't think so because this is condemned. I think you could fall back onto the property. I'm not a lawyer, so. Benny, do you know anything?
No, sir.
But that would be what the cost would be to tear that. That's the quote we would get it out, but that is the quote of $30,487.
So what are you suggesting, Dr. Ross? We address it next year before the budget?
Well, I'm just concerned about, $30,000.
Well, if we can get to make sure I go back and check the note. If we can get the property either given to us, deeded over, before anything is done, there's a possibility that we could get CDBG grant to do that. But once we did that, we can't sell the property. The property will still have to be out of it. And then if we did sell the property, we would have to give back what we got from CDBG to their account. So I mean, and what would you do with that little space of property beyond it other than make the green space? You might make a property line, and they may have Jason in here in their presentation, may have some of that information in their presentation, I'm not sure. But
What leverage do we have on condemning the property?
let's condemn that. Let's condemn.
What are the steps in condemnation?
Ben, can you answer that?
Yes, sir. Normally what we do is send out a certified letter. Once the owner of the property signs for the certified letter, it's 60 days from the date that he signs for it. If we send a certified letter and the property owner refuses to sign for it, it's 60 days after we get the original certified letter back. Then what we'll do at that point, after 60 days, we will submit a list to Jack McKinnon's attorney. He would draw up some legality, some words, some legal documents so that we can advertise in the local Dillon newspaper. We will have to advertise at least 3 weeks, and the reason being, if anybody else has financial interest in the property, they can come forward and make their appeal, that kind of stuff. But if we don't get any kind of appeal after those 3 weeks notifications, then what we'll do is we have to follow the DHEC rule of 1 house per block per year. And then, of course, we'll turn it over to Burke's department, and then Burke will demolish the structure.
And that's residential.
Correct. That's correct.
Commercial, we don't carry any commercial down, so you don't follow the one building per block on the commercial building. Because those folks are being certified before they want because of that, that's some things that have here or
Well, being that it's condemned, have we already used all the steps in the process?
For the Ulysses Madison's building?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we've never, that I can remember, had anybody once let out that, send out letters to where he can find the scene to, and advertising the Dillon Herald. We've never had anybody to go up to him and say, don't do it, move forward. Because most of them are usually in this.
What are the fines on the books right now, Benny? As it stands right now, where are we with the fines on that property?
For condemned properties,
Yeah.
once we condemn them, we can't fine them. We have to follow our city
But
ordinance.
beforehand, you had fines on that property.
No,
Is there
sir.
anything sitting on the books as far as a fine?
No, sir, not for condemnations. Normally what we have for fines or in the historical district, buildings that actually the property owners did not restore it back to its original appearance. Those are the ones that only have fines.
How does eminent domain work with the condemnation? Is there any connection between one and the other?
I've never done anything.
That's something we really need to look at.
Gotta be something.
I think we're gonna have this problem a lot.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't know if Jack handled them when he did eminent domain. When it's crazy, it was built in the early 90s. I do know that the fair market value was in play, but as far as actually the process, I've never done anything about that.
And all those properties that burning coming down along with the other folks, and the grass get cut on all year. So all that money, that money be on the tax for the
We bill them, they bill them, Benny gives a list of Bert has it cut, when it's cut, it's sent back to Benny, let them be done, Benny assigns them the cost, anywhere from $75 to $150.
Yes, sir,
Is
minute.
that correct? And then he's turned that over to Janet's office, and Janet and bill the folks. And in a certain period of time, if they don't pay you, we put it on a lien on there.
We're fixing to put some on there for this year. We put them on there last year. So the ones that we billed out since August of last year, if they haven't paid, we're going to put those on this year. We have to wait until the taxes are being prepared to put them on.
So if they were cut off last year, the bill will come out this year?
They go on, if they hadn't paid a year ago today, we'll just use today as an example, if they hadn't paid, it will go on to tax as a lien. And it doesn't mean that, the only time we can get our money is that property is sold. They can still pay the property tax.
No,
No, they can't?
no, they have to pay the lot owing or demo that's on there in order. They can't pay one of those.
Okay, all right.
Got to pay it. So we have inflated some of our lot owing through that.
And then if they don't pay it, the county within a year after that
And so,
can put it up for sale, a tax sale. And then whoever buys it has to pay that lien as well. So that's the way that works. Lastly, that I have, last month we were discussing about procurement. I put in your packet policy that comes out of a code book on procurement. Talk about purchasing, contract procedures, being competitive, bid deposit, sealed bids, things of that nature. I put that in there for your review if you have any questions, or just so you would have it. That's all I have.
All right. Jan, finance.
general fund, our cash accounts, operating accounts is $1,470,442. We have under the depreciation account for general fund, $786,835, bringing a total to all accounts $2,257,277. In July of this year, we brought in more revenues in 2019 than we did in 2020 by $95,331. Some of that is has to do with the water and sewer billing. We're down on that. I'm sorry, no new thing. Okay. What we did is we paid, I'd have to go back and see why we were down on that. I think I know what it was. It was the local option money that we got last year and we didn't get it this year.
We're gonna get it.
Oh, yes. It's just the timing, it's the timing of it. I'm sorry, I'm saying about water and sewer all the time.
I
Okay,
asked you about that earlier.
you did, and I had that on my mind. On our expenditures, we spent $396,759 more in 2019 than we have in 2020, this time last year. Some of it is due to the bills coming in at a different time. We purchased the garbage truck. We paid the street and alley paving, $35,000. So it's a combination of a lot of different things on that. Also, I'd like for y'all to know, when we have purchase orders sitting out there, when I run your report and the purchase orders have not been liquidated, it's an encumbrance sitting there because the reason I don't include it because it will show an expense that you really haven't had. A purchase order is, we're going to order it or we may not. It hadn't been spent yet. So you may see some negative numbers in there.
And that's due to, you said liquidated.
Right.
Even though we've already purchased it.
There was
we
some,
haven't taken it off.
that's right.
How
But
many
that's being
outstanding
handled.
POs do you have?
Pardon me?
How many outstanding POs do you
No, right,
have?
yeah. I didn't bring that with me to tell you the total, but, we have some, but I've taken care of the ones liquidated for this, for July.
Is there any way that we could get the outstanding POs just for capital purchases? So the council could be aware of those?
Sure, I'll be glad to bring you forward. Okay. It's going through the law. Stormwater. Our stormwater cash account's $163,657. Our revenues on $11,849. In 2020, 2019, it was $11,590. Our expenses, $9,733. In July of 2019, it was $2,519. That's due to, we did not hire employees until January this year. Water source sales and funds, we have got our non-restricted accounts, we've got $1,598,887. In our restricted account, we've got $1,974,682. Total of both restricted and non-restricted is $3,573,569. And this is where I brought it in. We have brought in, our revenues was $322,077 in July of 20. July of 2019 was $401,210, $79,133 more in 2019 than we did in 20. Some of that was due to the billing. We had less consumption for the billing of this year than we did last year.
Now, when it was mid-July that they cranked back up, did we see that kind of deficit in June? I don't remember that.
Who cranked that?
Purdue.
I think they were
Purdue
down.
cut out.
Well, they might be, so they're gone, I didn't know.
They're back, yeah, they're back working
In 5
Fridays.
days.
Yeah, they're working, they're 5 days now. Be good, nobody knows, Hardy's not here.
I was thinking we saw a big difference, if I remember.
That's a big difference.
And it's not only that, it's some other things on there that we have. And then our expenses.
20% of our, 20% of our budget.
Yeah.
20% back.
Look at, hold on one second, if you look at water and sewer sales, for the month of July, we did 295,000, which was 8% of our budget, which
That's roughly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9%.
that's correct.
Some of that is.
How much of the backlog, we gave, for the water cutoffs?
We're cutting off now. In fact, we cut off, I don't know how many we cut off, but people are paid. Now, did we put the penalties on this one?
No, they were.
Okay. We're not charging any penalties right now. Right now, we're planning to start in September. On that bill, there will be penalties added on, but, I think we had 160, give or take, scheduled to be cut off today. How many we cut off, I don't know. How many came in and paid.
We had a lot of community.
And with that, I meant to add this in my comments with that. Hopefully, by the middle of next week, week after next, no later than the end of the month, we talked back in March and April doing online payments. That should be in place here before September. I'm
We're
afraid.
going to August 26th.
August 26th.
Then you bought a truck, that's why your expenses were $40,000 more.
Right, water source. The golf course. Okay, our revenues, and it's not a true picture when you look at it. Our revenues, $23,906 in July of 2019. It was $35,024, but of that $35,024, $15,000 was transferred in there. So if you took that out.
And also, mid-July last year, we had member guests. And that is a full golf course for 3 days. And that's going to happen this weekend. So you may see a good August where you saw, a mediocre July. There's a lot of play out of the golf course. A lot of people that I've never seen play. They're out there playing.
Okay, and then the expenditures, we spent $22,858 more in this year than we did last July, and that was due to we had to have a new pump put out there, which was $17,923.
What's the pump for?
It's something.
Irrigation.
Okay. On the 2% hospitality tax, we brought in $2,660 more in revenue since July than we did last July. And we've got 5 payments left on that. We got a total of $936,950 in the account.
Is that all?
That's it.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
I got a question, before we go further. What was the capital expenses in the DEA check?
Did you buy anything with DEA money? With grant? They,
I'll have to go in there, $7,561. I'll look. And the reason I put it under capital expenditures is because anything over 5,000, we put it in there to capitalize it as
yeah,
a,
those things are.
yeah. I'll let you know.
Good. All right, benchmark planning, Jason Epley.
Before Jason started, you guys remember we did Jason and Dan back in November, December?
Something like this. While ago.
We had gotten a grant through the municipal association to $25,000 to do a study downtown as far as master plan. And when we selected these folks to do it, they gave us a time frame of about 9 months, I believe. Yeah, y'all were meeting with the staff, and you have the council, you have some of the property and business owners and public in general. So they're here tonight to kind of give you what they've heard from all these folks and some recommendations. This is not the final product by no means. This is just to give you where they are at this time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Once again, Jason Epley, with me tonight, Dan Douglas. Dan and I have been engaged working on this project for some time now. We had a little bit of gap, because of all the different things going on with COVID and some reorganization with some of the downtown committees. And so we're happy tonight to be able to come to you and share a little bit about what we've been doing. And once again, these are draft recommendations and ideas. And if you look at the phasing here, as Glenn had mentioned, we're at phase 2 tonight, which is to present some of the draft ideas and the vision. And then after tonight, after we receive your feedback, we'll then go back, work on some detailed recommendations, meet again with the committee. We talked to them about doing some virtual meetings, perhaps, to go a little bit deeper into some implementation recommendations. So tonight, I just want to give you a quick overview of some of the things we've been doing, and then Dan is going to hit some of the major recommendations that we'd like to get your feedback on. Just to kind of go over what Glenn was saying, we did hold some listening sessions. In our typical process, we like to get some information and data, but we also like to talk to people. You live here, you do business here. We want to find out what's going on, so we did that. We had about 60 participants back in, really towards the end of January, 1st of February. We had a little downtown workshop here at the Wellness Center. Didn't have a whole lot of folks come to that, but we did have a decent turnout. Some of the data we've been looking at, as you are very familiar with, your population growth has been relatively flat. We're hopeful with things we're seeing with the inland port that maybe there's going to be some changes. We don't know what the 2020 census holds. When we started this project, we were looking at the 2017 data, but I have done some quick checkups on the 2018, and it's about the same. So you're still kind of staying on that same track, but we're hoping that there's going to be some potential for growth. And as you look at that figure, the daily population expands to approximately 18,000 people, because you're at the county center. So there's a lot of people here during the day. And I had briefly mentioned the mega site inland port. Greer is a great example of the potential You are in a different place, different position in the state, but I think it's something to be thinking about. How can you fully maximize your opportunities related to the mega site and the inland port? Because it certainly has a lot of potential, and Dan might get on some of those here in a minute. We did look at the downtown retail trade potential. One of the difficult things with looking at that, your trade area does overlap with Walmart and a lot of other major kind of retailers, so it skews the data a little bit. The data did present that there are some opportunities with specialty food services and things that you would see like in a downtown. So we feel that although it's skewed a little somewhat by your larger retailers, we still feel that data did reveal there is some market potential for certain retail business categories. Our focus area, as you know, is this 14-block area running along West Main and East Main. We did look around the fringes, but this was our focus area. Some of the things we looked at included land use, traffic counts, we looked at property values, existing structures, parking, you name it. We really covered a lot of information that was presented in detail back in February of the workshop. We also took a look at parks and open space, vacant properties that were for sale, and then also, we are aware of the flooding from Hurricane Matthew and the efforts going on to alleviate those problems in the future. One thing we're surprised to see was the ridership at the Amtrak station. Well over 5,000 people in 2019. I have not seen an updated figure for that yet for this year. Downtown events. We heard a lot about the downtown events you have and how popular those are with people that live here in Dillon and the county. And then also, there's things that draw people in from outside to some of these bigger events. The Battle of the Bands, for example. And we also were encouraged to see all the good work that's been done. A lot of interest in facade grants. I think there's opportunity to leverage those grants to maybe get a little bit better result with some of the grants and building improvements. But certainly it's positive to see that people believe in downtown and are making an effort to make improvements as they move ahead. So positive indicators. Dan and I both see this as a huge opportunity. There's not a lot of towns that are your size that have this kind of potential sitting right here in your community. The vehicular traffic, I think I had mentioned that before, your traffic counts are really good. A lot of towns, once again, this size, you don't see that much traffic on the main street. It's usually diverted to somewhere else. Your post office, the government offices, the banks, the hospital, all those things being here in downtown really make a difference. And then also new development activity in downtown. We had mentioned the facade grants, and we know there's a lot of businesses and restaurants that are trying to open, get all that going, and a lot of renovations underway. And we're also encouraged by the development of the junior high school that's going to have an opportunity to have a community seating for, I believe, 600 people in that auditorium. Does that sound? I think that was the number. So we see a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of positive indicators. So what did we learn during the listening sessions? What did people tell us that live here, business owners, community supporters, volunteer members, elected officials? What were some of the things that we heard? We strongly communicated that you'd like to see your small town atmosphere maintained and keep that going. Downtown restaurants and evening entertainment. That was something we heard time and time again when we were talking with folks. A place for the public to gather. For special events and outdoor concerts. Seems to be a general desire to have more events downtown. And I think we should definitely mention the desire to have family-oriented, safe type events. A lot of these things, have been complicated this year with COVID, but these are the kind of things that bring people together in the community, in downtown, opportunities for all ages. Bring this as an example from Spartanburg. Many of you may have been to Freight Yard. This is an example of that kind of gathering spot where the community can come together, have some outdoor events. I believe that's the Clemson football game on that screen up there, which is always good. Some other things we heard, how do you attract more business downtown? Where can you get more green space, pocket parks? Take advantage of all these passengers that use the rail station. How can you look at opportunities to leverage from that? Building codes, design guidelines for facilitating development. How do you improve your building facades? The technical community college, how can we get the technical community college more involved in downtown? And then we are aware that you have made some steps recently with improving, at least taking the steps to get alcohol, which will help with some of these restaurant higher-end type things that we've been hearing from time and time again. Just a quick example of the building renovation. This is a project we did at Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, not South Carolina. This is the rendering to give some inspiration and some vision to the property owner. And this building had a ribbon cutting in 2019. And you can see the improvements the business owner made to the building. Some of the ideas that also came out of the listening sessions were makerspace. And some of you may or may not be familiar with that. That could be a variety of things where there are tools and technology and things available to the community, whether it's membership-based or some other nonprofit that may run it, where you can come in and build things. You see here in the bottom right-hand corner, and up at the top you see a commercial kitchen that can be rented out by someone in the community that maybe doesn't have the ability to get the licensing to make their cookies in their home kitchen and pass all the DHEC tests so they can sell them. You can have a commercial kitchen that can be rented and leased by people that have a recipe that want to do something commercial, but they just don't have the ability to get a business going out the gate. Some of those other things we heard were co-working space, performing arts. We know you have some of that, but there seems to be a desire to have more activities and programming, attracting young people. We did get to talk to some folks. It's not all the time we have the opportunity to talk to people that are in their late teens, early 20s, but we did have that opportunity during the listening sessions. And we heard about open mic nights, and well, I go to Florence, and I go here or go there. I'd like to stay here in Dillon and have that opportunity. Building the creative economy. Dan's going to talk about that. The importance of having creative infrastructure. A lot of times in economic development, you build roads, you put in sewer pipes. Well, there's things that you can put into place to encourage a creative economy. And how can Dillon become a destination? I think that's one of the biggest questions to try to answer through this process. And, how do we attract people here? How do you take advantage of the inland port and all the opportunities to move forward? And here's just some other examples of some of the things that we had talked about on the previous slide. So, we'll turn it over to Dan. We just want to emphasize, these are some big picture things. We will have lots of recommendations that we'll share with you all when the process is complete. But we wanted to kind of go over some of the bigger ones tonight and get your feedback as we're moving ahead.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so I just want to reiterate, these are sort of the big moves. There will be a lot more smaller things and recommendations in the full plan, but given the time constraints, we wanted to focus on what we thought were the big things. And I want to reiterate, we do a lot of work in small towns in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. That's kind of the market we work in, and they would kill to have an inland port. Most towns we work in would literally kill to get one. They would kill to have 9,000 cars a day on their main street. They would kill to have people that show up in meetings and are interested in forming groups to help support downtown. I mean, a lot of times our first recommendation is you got to have some group, somebody has to take responsibility. And here you have community members that stood up and sort of are in the process, at least, of taking it on, without really being asked. And so those are really positive things. And we think over time, granted the economy is not great right now, but at some point, some big fish is going to take a look at that inland port, bigger than the one you have now, whether it's a car manufacturer or some big thing, and that is going to be a game changer. And when those companies come, when they think about coming, I used to run economic development for downtown Raleigh, and no matter where the business was located in Raleigh, they always wanted to see what's your downtown like, and what they're really asking is, I want to know, do my people want to live here? Will they be comfortable living here? Will they be proud to live here? Is there enough amenities and things going on that they'll feel comfortable and enjoy, when and if we make the move to Dillon? Will they be happy once we do? And one of the questions I ask a lot in listening sessions is, where do you go on a first date? Right? And that's a sneaky way of trying to find out if there's a nightlife, if there's things going on in your town, especially that young people will want to do. And overwhelmingly the answer was Florence, we go for our first date. And so that tells us that there's not a lot of activity that at least younger couples would find interesting enough to ask someone, that you're interested in enjoying with you. And so that starts to point out some issues for us. And some of these recommendations are gonna cover that. Please. So we kind of broke this Main Street from 6 to the tracks in the west. And we kind of see it as kind of 3 districts, right? So you have what we're calling the government center on the west with the county, the city, the post office, and maybe that's a pretty big anchor that delivers some of those 18,000 people a day that are in Dillon during the day. And we think there's an opportunity to strengthen it and maybe even expand it. And in the middle, this deals more with that first date stuff. This is an opportunity. We see a lot of new investment. There's 3 buildings underway here. Talking about some buildings on the corner here. There's one missing a roof. We met with a contractor that claims that there's some interest in doing something there. And so in that block there seems to be more activity than a lot of the other blocks downtown. You have the existing railroad park here and the train station and the theater. So there's lots of opportunity in proximity to each other there. So we're calling it the sort of festival marketplace. Excuse me.
The police station is going to be across the street from that also.
Maybe. We're going to make a recommendation about that. All right. And so on Highway 501, you're somewhere between 9,000 and 12,000 cars a day. But the gateway here at the intersection with Main, it could be a lot better, right? So if someone's taking let's say 95 is jammed up and it's Saturday and they're heading to the beach and they get off Google Maps or whoever tells them to go down 301, 501, you want to invite them to explore the rest of your downtown right here and go either left or right and get off on Main Street, have a bite to eat, do something. And I got to admit, when I came the first time, I drove right through that. I didn't know, I wasn't using Google Maps and directions, so I didn't know that was Main Street. So we'll make some recommendations about that. And then a streetscape recommendation for the entire length of, we heard a lot from people that the streetscape was done, 15, maybe 20 years ago. People are not real happy with the sort of plantings on the corners, hard to see when you're driving, and some of the trees are not as stately or as nice as people would hope they are. So we have some recommendations about that. The first one is this new streetscape design. The downtowns that succeed nowadays are the ones that are a nice pedestrian environment, where you feel comfortable walking, window shopping, sitting in an outdoor cafe, that have shade, that have interesting things to look at, not a lot of vacant buildings, and that is kind of not the case in downtown Dillon today. So we think it's time for a new upgraded streetscape that makes pedestrian improvements like bulb out shade trees, wider sidewalk. A lot of times in the small communities we work in, people drive down Main Street and if they don't see anybody, they don't see anything happen, and they think, oh, it's dead, nothing's going on. And so things like sidewalk sales, outdoor cafes, anything that can spill out onto the sidewalk and show life really changes people's perception about what downtown is, events, things like that. So we want to try to create an outdoor dining experience to add life to the street. We want to strategically plant shade trees, not just a lot of landscape architects say, oh, we should, every 40 feet, as if this is like an access road to an industrial plant or something. The way you want to plant street trees on the Main Street is at the property lines to frame the signage of the building and make the building stand out and come forward. And so we have some recommendations about that. And we think with I think it was about 9,000 cars a day, you do not need a 4-lane Main Street. That is like sending a big signal to the market that this is a place for cars, not people. The biggest concern we have is moving cars efficiently, and it's 2 lanes at one end of Main Street before you come into town, and it's 2 lanes at the other side coming in, and 4 lanes, you end up giving over 90% of the right-of-way to the movement and storage of cars, and that sends a big signal to people mentally that this is a place for cars, not people. And you're never going to compete with Walmart, on the amount of free parking and ease of access, It's just, if you think that people come downtown because the parking's free or it's super easy to drive on 4 lanes, that's not why they come. They come for the experience of downtown. And so that's what we're trying to improve here. And if we do that, we can actually increase parking from 117 spaces to 223 spaces. We'll show you how that's done. This is sort of an example of a small town outdoor cafe, the type of experience, that a lot of people go on vacation for. Right? We think, let's go to Charleston, it's so nice, or let's go to, Greenville, up near the mountains, or Asheville. There's no reason that all of us can't live in communities that have this type of experience in it. We shouldn't have to travel to get it. This is kind of a pedestrian bulldog here on the corner that makes it easier to cross. And this is the existing streetscape. So from here all the way to there is devoted to cars. The fast movement and storage of vehicles. And that little 12-foot and that little 10-foot on the side is where you say that's where a pedestrian should be. That's what people on foot get. And you don't have a whole lot of drive-throughs on Main Street that I saw. Of course, they're out on 301. But that means I got to get this through that front door. There's only one way to do it, and that's on foot. I can't drive into your store. I got to walk in. So making it a great place for pedestrians is step one. 60-degree angled parking is really unusual on a Main Street. That's a pretty severe angle that folks aren't really used to parking. You see a lot of 30s and 45s, but not the big 60. That's a severe angle. It's tough for some people to understand. There's a variety, kind of mismatch of landscaping in different ways that it's maintained or not maintained. So we think it's probably time to look at an update. That's again the dimensions. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of 8, 6 of 8 12-foot groups are devoted to cars and only 2 to people. There it is. Next. So this is kind of the new idea of the streetscape. I'll let you take a look at it. This is again 6, so it goes from there all the way through. And we're not a firm that recommends fancy pavers that are hard to maintain and hard for maintenance guys and gals to deal with. We like to see a 2-foot by 2-foot concrete grid so that if you have to cut out for a new sewer line or a new water line, it's real easy for your guys to maintain it and replace it. It's much cheaper, and frankly, nobody really cares about what the sidewalk looks like. They just want it to be flat and level and not be tripped up. Okay. So this is what we're proposing for most of the streetscape, except for one block. 3 11.5-foot travel lanes with a center left turn lane, 18 feet 6 for 45-degree angled parking, not 60, and 14-foot wide sidewalks, which is kind of the minimum to do an outdoor cafe where you have seating at the building edge and at the curb, like this. So you would have seating here, up against the building, and then another table out here. People actually walk through the middle of the cafe. And the reason you do that is because when people make a big fenced-in cafe, it moves their wallet and their eyes away from window shopping. So the closer you can keep them to the front of the building, like when you're in a mall, the sausage cart and the pretzel cart and whatever, it's always in the middle of the mall. It's never up against the front of the building because they don't want to put anything between you and that store. So you can look in and shop, and that's what we're trying to do here. I mentioned strategic planting of trees only at the property lines and not everywhere. Spread it out a little bit, but shade is really important. And then high visibility crosswalks and bump outs. So this crossing here is about 35 feet instead of from here to here, which would be closer to 60 feet. So that makes that crossing a lot safer. Next. So this is what it looks like in plan. Now it's 45-degree spaces, a center turn lane, and 1 travel lane in each direction. And here you see the trees, every other building, at the property line, so the signage of this building is not blocked by a big tree. And in the festival block site, it's a little bit different because there's not a whole lot of demand, we think, for left-hand turn lanes on the Railroad Avenue. So we took out the left-hand turn lane, and that gives us a 17-foot wide sidewalk. There you can see the type of cafe I'm talking about. where you have tables out at the curb and then another one against the building and people walk right through the middle. That's the preferred cafe experience. 17-foot wide sidewalks, strategic planning again, high visibility crosswalks, and here you don't really need the left turn lanes because there isn't a big demand. And this is where we think a lot of the outdoor cafes have the best chance. These two buildings, the bank building, and then these three that are already planned for a cafe. Next. So this is a look at the West Main Government Center side. Please go back. We add a bunch of parking on the north side here in front of the grocery store. Regularize the parking here in front of City Hall and the county court building. Next one. And this is the east end with the gateway. We bump out wherever the curb cuts are to get people into parking, and try to do the same at all the intersections of here. You have a lot of demand, so we put 3 turn lanes. So there's 4 lanes at the intersection with 501, so you can do a left, a right, or straight. Here's the gateway concept. You can't really neck down 501, that's a big issue, but we try to do it north-south where we can. Again, we kept the 3 lanes, but they might be a little bit smaller, maybe 11 feet. And then these red squares, I don't know what it is, right? But you need to do something there that tells people, hey, you're crossing Main Street of a really neat community, maybe you should check it out, left or right. And so that would be some kind of vertical marker, to let people know that they're approaching this different thing 1 block each to the north and south. We think you should make a tree planting scheme that as people are coming down 301 and they get to that one spot where the trees are grown and then they can see the vertical icons, they know that they're in a different area. Next. Here's an example in Charlotte. That's Trade and Tryon Street. They have 4 statues of I don't know who. This is the gateway into Rock Hill, South Carolina. They got these columns from the old Masonic Temple in Charlotte and brought them out there on a train. They got them for free. Just put them up. Here's the type of signage, when you get to that intersection and it says, I forget the number of Main Street. Is it 57 or 9? Is Main Street the state?
34.
34. So instead of just saying 34 and 301, you can say, oh, there's Main Street, there's shops, there's food, there's a farmer's market, and plenty of parking. So you're giving that person a message when they're standing there at that stoplight that, hey, maybe there's something else. And when I got off the highway, coming from the north, I got off at south of the border, and the first time I went right, because there's no sign that says, hey, Dillon is to your left. And so this is all part of you want to make it easy for people to find you, and right now, it's for newcomers anyways, it's kind of difficult. In terms of the facade grant program, we think you need some rough guidelines, maybe a 3-5 page document that makes it clear what you want from people when you're participating in the renovation of the front of their building. It makes it easy to review, a simple checklist that makes it easy for them to do. And sometimes in some cities, you can even have a sort of an architect on call that you limit the amount of money they can charge and it becomes part of the grant. So if someone is not sure how to do a right facade, maybe there's an architect that you say no more than $750, you can come in and guide them through it, and the grant will pay for half of that, just like it would the rest of the physical part of the facade. So you can get advice for people who don't really, they're not construction, they don't know code, they don't know all the rules, and this makes it easier for them. And then we heard from a lot of people that it's tough to get things done in terms of permitting in downtown. And so if you want to do outdoor dining, you have to make it easy to get a permit. It should take them, 8 hours, not 8 weeks. And if you make the investments in streetscape, one of the things we always recommend is a streamlined process for the private sector to respond to that investment. So you can get a better return on your investment by making it easier for people to invest, specifically where you made that big investment. And oftentimes we recommend for clients, let's say you decided to do that streetscape and you budgeted for 2023 or something, and and it's going to be done by January of '24, you would increase the size of the facade grant until you have the ribbon cutting for Main Street to try to incent the private businesses to respond to your public investments. So when you open the street, there's new facades, there's new street, there's new trees, and it's all done at once. When I did that in Raleigh and downtown, our facade grant matched up $10,000. We upped it to $20,000, and we got 18 applications in a 6-block area that were all done when the new Main Street opened. Here's an example from your town, although we haven't seen it yet because we know it's been redone, but this is before that, so we stopped here first on our way north from the north. So this was an idea we had of what it could look like. And that's, again, where you want to put a tree, not blocking their new sign. You want to sort of frame especially the window signs on Main Street. These signs are more important than anything up high because people and cars are on the ground, so these are the most important. Here's the recommendation we're making for the Dillon County Ag Building. We toured that building. It's in it's in good shape. It's a historic building. It's a very strong and stout, made out of concrete. And so we think you should build off the city-county presence to anchor the west end. And even use the out parcel site in front of the grocery as a potential to recruit some state office. We've had success in other towns recruiting cooperative extension, soil water conservation, state parks. There's usually all those little state offices need some space, so sometimes you get 5,000-10,000 square foot of office leased out to the state. And in the ag building, we think that the police department should move there and not in the bank building, to keep it close to the courthouse and close to the city hall, and that the county office building, it's an idea, that the county office building is in that old house, maybe together they could share that building, open up needed space in City Hall and get the county office building a presence on Main Street again. The building is about 12,000 square feet. Maybe the county occupies the front, the police the back, or maybe split by 4. I'm not sure. But we think there's ample opportunity in there to satisfy what at least Glenn told us was the space needs of the police moving forward and of the county moving forward, and still have about 3,000 square feet left over to grow into over time. You could have meeting space there and some potential parking at the site of the old county building. And that opens up the 100-block bank building for a really highly visible use, because that, as you come across the tracks, that's probably like a billboard. It's one of the most visible buildings in Main Street because there's nothing in front of it. So you're looking at it as you come up west, and we think maybe there's a better use there. So we have an idea. We'll see. Next. So that would be the ag building here. It's got a nice courtyard, and if the county moves in, then they can have parking to serve their users here on their own site. Post office there. Then this was the site I was talking about as a potential, because then you'd have a little mini version of kind of what they have in Charleston. They call it the 4 corners of law or whatever. It's the state, the Fed, the county, and the church, I think, is all on one intersection. So this could kind of be a government center with the feds, the state, the city, the county, and the county again. That's a big anchor with a lot of employees. Jason didn't get to it this time, but in the final report, this is the before, there'll be an after that shows a little bit of what that building might look like if it becomes a government building. You could have the county entrance here and the police entrance here, so there's a presence on Main Street. This is the Festival Marketplace concept. And so these are the buildings I mentioned that people have told us in the listening sessions were ripe for reinvestment. This was the one that you all, I think, are trading with the bank for some parking. And so you have, like I mentioned, some real anchors here. The Depot, the Dillon Theater. We saw a proposal for a new farmer's market that was in the middle of the block. You have the Railroad Park with the wider sidewalk here because it's only 2 lanes, a real chance for outdoor dining. And so the idea is, how do you make this a destination and get more people to come? And that's mostly by planning events and things that people want to come to. Hopefully you get the 5,000 people at the Depot to come over here and get a coffee. You start showing activity at the movie theater, and they walk down to the restaurant. The market can go on and draw people, and then you get this, by shifting it, you get a big lawn that can host events and concerts and movies in the square. And all that maybe leverages some development on the grass here that is an opportunity center. And a little more detail. This is it, kind of looking from the above the train depot towards Main. And on the far end there is the farmer's market building with the lawn, the bank building, and then you get with stained concrete, maybe put your city logo in the middle there to sort of make it a little bit more festive. And with the wider sidewalks, you get all this, outdoor dining on the corner. So as people are coming, the first thing they see of downtown Dillon is life and activity and people out doing stuff. Next one. Here's the most active we've seen it, which is during one of your downtown events. Similar view. So I know you're thinking, well, maybe the farmer's market goes once a month, maybe at the most once a week on Saturday. What are we going to do with that building the other, 320 days a year? And so we see lots of these buildings used as a monthly vintage market, flea market, an annual Christmas market. This where people sell Christmas ornaments and supplies, a live music hall. It's a community rental venue for weddings and other events. Here's one kind of as a live music. And then the great lawn becomes this, the marketplace music lawn where you can hold events. We think it will hold about 2,000 people sitting. And so if you do 7 or 8 of those a year, then all of a sudden all those properties around it now have people that are downtown willing to spend money. They have a stronger market. This is the bank building today. And we're recommending, at least looking at making it a small business development center. Because as Jason mentioned, running a pipe out to the inland port is a piece of infrastructure that's, for the big whale, right? The whole thing of the inland port is we're trying to catch a whale. That's our hook in the water for the big, huge thing. But 2/3 of the jobs in South Carolina are not created by whales. They're created by small businesses. And small businesses that are started by members of this community. And so what is the infrastructure you have? What is the pipe? What is the road? What is the sewer line or the giant power line that you as a community have put together to help grow small businesses? And this strategy, you sort of have the whale hunters. This is called economic gardening. It's where you try to help a small business grow from an idea into a physical space and then into their own space eventually over time through mentoring, through sharing of overhead, through partnering with other people within the small business space for other suppliers and working together. So if I'm in a co-working space and we're trying to put together the report for you guys, maybe we ask the graphic designer that's 3 seats over to help us put it together, and all of a sudden we're working together and all the money is being shared and recircled in our economy, recirculated. So the idea is the market hall and the small business center are infrastructure. The market hall provides a place to test ideas. We worked with a young man in Suffolk that was making chocolate dipped strawberries and selling them in cute little boxes around the community, but he didn't have a place. He didn't have a place where he could introduce that idea to the whole community, and that's what a farmer's market can do. Because you can rent a booth for 10 or 15 bucks and try an idea with just spending the 10 or 15 bucks and what it costs you to build your product for today. And if chocolate-covered strawberries become the thing, then he can move up to the ground floor of the Small Business Development Center and have a little shop for about a year. You time limit it. And when he moves up there, maybe he gets some help from the community college. Maybe he gets a mentor from a retired retailer or a retired food prep expert that is in town that helps to shepherd him and understand how to make a product and how to move it. And then, if he's still successful, the idea is that he would move out of the Small Business Center and take a shop in Main Street or some other part of the community. So you've taken this little kernel of an idea and you've given it a piece of infrastructure that lets it grow to where it can actually take over some space in your community. And the reason they call it gardening is because it's planting a seed and watching it grow. But the other thing is it's sticky, right? So if you help somebody develop their business over the course of maybe 5 years, guess what? They're never moving from Dillon, right? They're sticky. They want to stay here because you've helped them. They feel loyal to you. When you recruit a whale, the next town over could offer $30 million more incentive the next year, and guess what? They're moving. to the new incentive. And so they're not as sticky. And so this is a way of sort of growing and creating a whole bunch of small businesses that are about 60% of the jobs in South Carolina and making them stay here. And providing unique amenities that make people from the Wales want to live here because they can go get a chocolate-covered strawberry shop or a bakery or somebody. We had a young couple in Raleigh that decided he wanted to make his own pair of jeans. He was a senior in college. And so he got a pattern and he sewed a pair and he realized he didn't know what he was doing, that he needed a special sewing machine. And as you know, the Carolinas are textile, it's our history is textile, a lot of it. And so he went out and bought the old sewing machines. He found the denim manufacturers in Greensboro. He found a lady who was 85 who knows how to make a pattern for blue jeans, who had retired years before. He brought all that together and made a company called Raleigh Denim that manufactures jeans in the heart of downtown Raleigh and sells them at Barney's for $500 a pair. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about economic gardening. And he was nobody. He was nobody. He was just a grad student, not even from North Carolina at NC State. And because they found him a mentor, they found him a space, they helped connect him to the sewing machine guy, they helped connect him to the denim manufacturer. The city of Durham offered the Raleigh Jean Company $100,000 to move to Durham, to bring some cool to Durham. And the guy said, well, look what's in my name. We're the Raleigh Jean Company, not the Durham Jean Company. And these people have helped us all these years. We're never moving. And that's what I mean by sticking. These are some examples of shared retail space. Typically, you want little small 1,000 square foot with hallways where it's cheap to rent and a nice space. And this could be the ground floor of the Small Business Development Center. And up above could be co-working, mentoring, maybe some classroom space from the community college where people know if I have an idea I want to develop, this is the place to come. Next. So what are some potential funding options available for this? You have a whole bunch of new and existing venues. So you have the Dillon Theater, you have the new theater coming in the senior center. You have now if you build this, you have the covered market site, and next to it, the great lawn. And so now you're set up to do bigger events. You can hold a blues festival or I don't know, but whatever music people really like, because now you have 3 covered venues and a big lawn. And if that brings in 10,000 people from the PD region on a weekend, all the retailers, all the restaurateurs, your accommodation tax money, all that stuff goes up. And the same is true with sporting events, right? Softball tournaments, basketball tournaments. These are things that we see. I work also in tourism. So youth sports, live music events, and now microbrewery festivals where you can sample 100 different kinds of beer. Those are the 3 big drivers of small town tourism today. You turn day trips into overnight trips. That boosts up your accommodation tax revenue, and you can use that money to invest in these venues that are drawing people in. We mentioned most of this stuff on the gateway. It's just create a stronger impression, clean up, reorganize the signage, communicate to travelers what's ahead for them, and then create a 1-block buffer to let them know that opportunity's coming, and then make it better for pedestrians. And here's some examples from some other towns. A funky piece of art is, you don't have to like this, right, or that. What a lot of communities fight over public art because they think it's permanent. So what we recommend is just leave a pedestal, and you can lease the art from somebody for a year at a time and then change it out. You don't have to buy it. That's tough on a budget for a small town. So a lot of times artists will even donate it just to get the visibility for a year. And so that's what these are. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you what that should be. I don't know what this community's image of itself is, but it should be something that drives people's interest. And lastly, some supporting initiatives. As I mentioned, you need a citywide wayfinding system that directs people to downtown and your major destinations. It could be along the new Martin Luther King Gateway from Radford Boulevard. You should keep working on the drainage improvements to alleviate the potential flooding, even though we all hope that was a 500-year event. Since it's fresh in people's minds, they're they're hesitant to invest, thinking that could be in my future, given how many, hurricanes we seem to be getting lately. Make pedestrian connectivity with your pedestrian plan. Continue to make those connections to adjacent neighborhoods, because downtown is their neighborhood where they shop and get all their stuff. And this is a big one, especially if you want fine dining. Hopefully the campaign in November will approve Sunday alcohol sales, because the margin on alcohol is much greater than the margin on food. And if you want fine dining, you need to have Sunday alcohol sales, and it could carve you out a special niche, because I don't think anyone else in the county has it, right? And so you can become sort of the destination for Mother's Day for sure on Sundays. Be the only place where people can come, but lots of other opportunities to sort of carve out a niche in the county for people to come here on that first day. When they say, where do you go? You can say, oh, I go to Billy's Restaurant in Dillon, and then we go see a concert on the Great Lawn, and we end up, having a great night when we do that, or a movie, or whatever it is. And so when people ask, when you ask people, what do you do on that first date? If that isn't the answer, if the answer is we're going to Florence, then your downtown has sort of failed. And that's, this is a typical wayfinding system. You have your welcome signs, your direction signs, and then once you get in downtown, you have sort of pedestrian scale signs that direct you to individual destinations. And then it's important to let people know where free public parking is so they don't get their car towed. Next one. And so those were the 5 big steps. The new streetscape, downtown design, expanding and concentrating your government center, developing the festival marketplace and the pipeline infrastructure for small business, and then enhancing your front door at the gateway. And then we didn't list all of them because we only have a short time here, but in the final report there'll be a whole series of smaller recommendations that didn't make it into this presentation, but are real small things. And that's it, and we'll take any questions if you have them.
Any idea what the roadway infrastructure would cost?
The streetscape?
Yeah.
Jason?
Well, we didn't do that yet because, this is conceptual at this point. We didn't really dive into the numbers. I would probably say $3 million per block.
That's probably high.
Two blocks if you did something really decorative. Something like this, maybe more than 1.5 per block.
Yeah. I mean, your lights are already underground, right? That's the big expense, so you save that. And so it's really just new sidewalks and trees. And we recommend a 2x2 concrete bridge, cheap, easy, no fancy blue slate or granite or anything like that. So I bet you can do it, near, not too much more than $1 million block, and I think you have 6 blocks, maybe 7.
Well, it depends on how much of that you do.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all at once either.
Yeah, but we didn't look at that. So.
We can.
But certainly we can look at that in the final report and get a better idea.
Well, I mean, we all have dreams,
Yeah.
We want something that, we can work towards, and one of the things that many times government doesn't do is a 5-year and 10-year plan, and it's something that we can work towards. We might not be able to do it in a year or 2-year period of time. We might be able to do it in 5 years, but.
And that's kind of how when we were talking about this, what would be first, what would be second phase, third phase,
Right.
et cetera.
Yeah.
We really focused our attention on this first plot that we're showing here in this image, just because we feel like that's the greatest potential for return immediately.
Right.
Certainly, you want to look at the whole entire downtown, it's got to start somewhere.
Right.
We felt like that would be the first place to start. But we really wanted to get your feedback before we dug in real deep into details on things like the numbers.
We're going to need some direction on the bank building, in 18 months, because we've got plans for that building right now.
And we appreciate that. We don't want to step on people's toes, your toes.
Well, no.
Showing this as an option.
We asked for an opinion. But, the ag building, we sold for $52,000,
Yeah. Yeah.
About gave it away. And, they were supposed to do something with it
Yeah.
in 2 years, and really that never developed. I think the roof on that thing was just horribly expensive. I think he about broke on that building. It's well built, but there's some architectural challenges, walls and stuff, how you cover wiring and plumbing.
Yeah. The beauty is it's sort of laid out well for offices because that's what it was. And we've been working with Myrtle Beach. And if you were to do that building at one end of the street and the bank building at the other end, you can use tax credits to renovate them. And in South Carolina, I think it's 25% of the cost of the building. And then you syndicate it and sell them, right? So as a city, you can't use tax credits because you don't pay taxes. But you can syndicate those credits and sell them to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or some rich investor that wants to buy those credits from you. So you can get a subsidy to do that from the state government as long as you follow it and keep it more or less historically intact.
There also, on that, where the bank is, I think there is a building along there that is in poor repair that might give us access back to, if we had a green space, back to the area behind it where the lawn is.
Yeah, I think it's this one, this little one-story one. We
No,
kept it.
I'm talking about on Main Street.
Main building
Yeah,
right
one of
beside.
those, yeah.
Yeah, I know people have been talking about that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But anytime you give an excuse for someone to not walk in front of a retail shop and take a shortcut like that,
Yeah.
that's a wallet that didn't walk in front of her store, and didn't walk in front of my cafe, and now it's a place you have to maintain and you have to worry about.
Okay.
We prefer for the block to be continuous and let them walk around, because then they have to walk in front of every shop. Sometimes you have to do it, if a building burns or it's in some kind of terrible shape, but it's really important. And the thing that you have that no one else has is this continuous block of traditional Main Street facades. And almost every town we work in has knocked down 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And that's where people typically turn around. If they're walking down Main Street, and they come to a spot that's a gap and they look down here, should I go the rest of the way? This is a gap. A lot of times that's where they make the decision to turn around and go back to their car. So we call it a gap tooth Main Street, where, it's like a smile missing a couple teeth. And so you try not to pull a tooth unless you have to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And our next time we meet will be, what's our agenda? Before we take it?
October.
Okay.
Yeah, because our plan would be to, meet with the committee again, because it has been some time.
Get some more feedback.
Get some more feedback. Certainly, if you all have feedback that you'd like to pass along, we want to hear it, through Glenn and get that to us. Because this was intended to be a draft, so.
And to throw some ideas. So if there's something, if it turns out that you say, we're dead set on the bank building being, the police station, and we certainly don't want to put in our final plan something that we know there's no heart for or no desire from the police or the council to do, and we'll change it. I mean, this is your plan, it's not our plan, and so.
I think it's real interesting, that whole small business gardening idea. I mean, that, for a little bit of nothing, they could try an idea, and like you say, something may come from that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
better get going while we still have electricity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Stephanie, Dillon Community Alliance, Stephanie Mitchell.
Okay. Y'all should have a packet of things from me. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull trees, but gotta do what I gotta do. All y'all know me. I am Stephanie Mitchell. I am with Dillon Community Alliance at this meeting. I do a lot of stuff. But I want to first pass this around. So y'all know, one, we all have our beliefs. That's our legal entity. That is stating that we are tax exempt and we are recognized by the Secretary of State. I want you to have that first. But one, we all have our beliefs, and there was no better time for me to come before this committee than with this tonight. I believe God put me here for a purpose. That's my belief. So, because a lot of the things that he said, I'm going to be talking about and building off of as well. I'm really nervous, and I believe I never get nervous, so this has got to be a good thing. First up in your packet, let's talk about the things that y'all got. You got a lot of stuff. You got a proposal. Did everybody have a chance to look over this proposal? I will go over, because this is the meat and potatoes, basically, and I'll go over this in depth shortly. You got a proposal. You got a copy of a resolution we'll talk about. You got what is currently Dillon's historic map and the facade incentive grant program, the current guidelines that we go by. You got about 6 letters of recommendation from business owners, community members, people within the community. And these, you also got a list of our board members, so you know who we are, and if you have any questions about what stakes some of those people hold, because we're all stakeholders in this community. We have business owners, we have lawyers, we have people with young children that live here and want their kids to grow up in the area. We have someone that has a nationwide business experience. So we have a lot of good qualities on our board of directors, which help direct us and determine the things that we want to do. We are a nonprofit. Essentially, what we'd like to do is take over, maybe that's not a good word, I shouldn't be taking over anything, but we'd like to assume the responsibilities that the downtown development association committee kind of thing has done in the past, since that position is no longer here. But we are a nonprofit. Now, by being a nonprofit, we can help the city benefit in more ways than just having a city employee do this, because we can actually apply for grants and funding as a nonprofit. And I don't know if they know or not, but I'm pretty sure that nonprofits could own that that business incubator or manage it or those kind of things if we could get the funding to do that. So, not saying we want to do that, I'm just saying those are possibilities. But, let's see what else. So basically you see that we have the support of a lot of community members to take over the facade grant program, and that's what I want to do. I've spoken with Denny, our committee, Steve and Rhett are in the background. We love Steve, but Steve has got to remain silent or we'll never get out of here, y'all. Anyway, so we are the founding members, but we have a total of 9 board members. And we will also have additional members from within the community. If you saw the membership levels, the businesses are what we want to focus on in this first year, basically. Even though we're getting started halfway through the year, once somebody has a membership with us, we're going to let it run through the remainder. It's like they're going to get the remainder of this year free, but it's going to be their next year's membership. The dues are there in the packet, and like I said, the businesses mainly is what we're focusing on. Just like y'all, we all have a stake. We want the Main Street to look good. We want Dillon to be the place to come to out of our entire PD area. So, you know, as they said, things have to look nice. You have to provide opportunities for dining, for walking, safety, all of those kind of things. Our committee strives to do that. We feel like we can assist you all in distributing and taking care of the facade grant stuff not in a better, I don't want to say better, but I feel like we can assist y'all maybe in a different way, because it's easier for a peer to go to a peer and say, your building is looking a little rough. Can we see if we can help you get some funding for paint? As opposed to Glenn saying, your building looks ugly, and if you don't get it painted, then he's going to give you a ticket. You know, people don't really take kindly to that, so we can approach them better. What we would like to do as a committee is we would like to assume the responsibility of the grants. We realize that y'all have allotted what you have allotted, and that is okay. We want to work with that. If you look through the proposal that I gave out to you, the benefits of us doing it again, peer-to-peer, we can remove the burden of the paperwork from poor Benny, who has licenses and code enforcement and all of those other things to deal with. We want to be a resource for new businesses and existing business owners to come to and say, hey, I know my building needs some work, it needs an upgrade, help me get all of this paperwork together. We will be available to help them fill out the application, get whatever permits they may need, even contract with some, hopefully if we can get them on board, discounted contractors so that they can get the work done in a timely and cost-effective manner. We feel like that we can, if you look through, you also got some paperwork from like HMRA, which is Marion and Mullins. We talked to a lot of different groups before we came up with this. And if you watch any of the media and you know what's going on in Marion and Mullins, they have got it going on. They got a lot of new businesses going on down there. They have, their towns look fantastic. And we want to model our program after them. So what they do is that they have one person, which would be the committee. I am currently acting as the executive director. I do not want this job because I have other things to take care of. But until we can get the funding, whether that is through our donations, through grant money or whatever, to hire somebody, I am the hired person for this. So our bylaws say somebody has to be hired. I get a pittance of a pay for the entire year, and that is donated back from me. But anyway, so what we want to do is we want to have that point of contact and allow the board of directors to be responsible for deciding, you know, who gets the money after we receive the application. Say we want to do it quarterly is what we're looking at. Well, I think right now we're going to do it like twice a year because we're half the year, but ultimately work towards doing it quarterly, receiving applications and requests. Maybe we get 5, and if we split the money up, then we have $12,000 in one quarter and $12,000 in the next year. So maybe we get 5 applications. We are offering we want to revamp instead of just saying, okay, let's do 50-50. We want to revamp the grant process so that there is X amount for signs, which we said $1,000 for the signs. We're $1,500 for the paint, $3,000 for a mural grant, and other requests such as windows, awnings will be evaluated on an individual basis. No participant or requester or grant recipient is going to receive more than $3,000. It's going to be no different now, except for we want to be able to have that match. And I know Johnny has mentioned this in the past, changing that grant match number from 50-50. That has not worked. We can talk about these, I'll talk about these numbers. It has not really worked to do a whole lot to make a major improvement in the downtown area in the past. As Lynn has often said, we are begging people to take the money to do something with, because if you look through the facade grant information, all of the years from 2017 through 2020, not one time did we spend or did we use all of the money that was allocated from the city for the facade grant. There was always some money left over. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault, because what happens is it gets down to the last minute and, you know, Janet does the numbers and there's $1,000 left that somebody could have had, but because when the requests come in the past, we have been just putting $3,000 aside for each applicant. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to kind of have a tighter grip on how much money everybody gets. So we're asking that the grant come back to a 75-25% match. where the city pays the 75%, or it comes out of that grant funds, and the person who's requesting the grant pays 25%. Now,
What is it now? It's 50.
it's 50/50 now, yeah, and you know, it hasn't, we don't get that much for 50/50. So, but if you think about it, $1,000 would be the max that they got for their sign grant. So they could get a $1,250 sign and pay $250 for it, if we do 75/25. And then if they come to you knowing that that's all they want is the $1,000, then you have, what, $23,000 left to allocate to other things. So I just think it will be easier for our committee to manage this rather than Benny, with everything else he has going on, to just accept the grants. We want to, as you see on the resolution, we decided that, I don't know how to say all this. We decided that, you know, we're honest, we're fair, we look at what's going to make the biggest impact, because in all of our businesses, we've done the same thing. We just want what's best for the city. So that's why I'm asking you all, to the council, to allow us to not have that money. We don't want to have it. We just want to be able to manage it appropriately and take in the applications, help the grant requester with the paperwork, make sure that they get all of their receipts, their signed checks, front and back, copies, and get that into, it would come into Benny for review, and then he would pass it on to Janet. So he doesn't have to, he can attest to this. He doesn't have to beg and plead for every receipt and, you know, are you going to get this done in 30 days? What's holding you up? We would constantly be working with them to make sure, okay, if you're getting a sign done, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to get that completed in an easy 45 days. So if that doesn't happen, then that grant money would be available to go to somebody else. So the only, okay, I've talked a lot, and if you've read over this paperwork, you may have an issue with one thing, which is we require that, and Marion and Mullins does the same thing, we require that in order for somebody in the historic district to get this grant, that they be a member of the Dillon Community Alliance at the business level, which would cost $150. But for that $150, we would assist them with all the things that I have said to y'all, and then that truly, that $150 will be reinvested through our nonprofit back into the city, whether that is, because if you look at our bylaws go throughout the entire city limits. Yes, we focus on Main Street, but we also could help other businesses. So that money could, you know, go back for another paint grant or something outside of this $24,000, or to put on a event in the park. So that's what we're asking for. We want to be able to manage the facade grant program. We want to be able to change the way that it is divvied out, distributed, and we want to be able to change the grant matching process. Now, I've said a lot, we've gotten a lot of paperwork. Any questions? Johnny?
Well, I do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
My concern is your board members here. You got one board member, our board member, have you addressed him? He's in violation of the city right now.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He did not show up at our last board meeting, and yes, we are working on that. So that is one that is potentially going to be replaced. Because of COVID, we've only been able to have one board meeting, and we had to do that through the Zoom session. So it's not that we haven't been working, because all of us were on the same committee, Glenn, since I don't even know when it was started. Yeah, we've been working at that. So that's something, yes, we will work on.
My other question is, I know what y'all, or your intentions are, is to go outside the historical district. I would like to see if y'all take this over, y'all stay within the historical district.
Okay. That is not our intention. That is in addition to staying within the historical district. We will focus on the historic district. Our bylaws say city limits, within the city limits. We want to bring new business within the city limits. We didn't want to limit it to just the historic district, because what if we can draw in a Chick-fil-A on 301? I mean, do you not want us to do that
Well,
and help them? Right.
But I think your local business owners, that's what the intent was, to help them with the facade grant.
Yeah, that's all it would be.
For
Facade grant won't change,
Right.
it's still gonna be
Right.
downtown.
Gotcha.
And we will offer other facade grants with, y'all's funds will be restricted funds to the main street. We will offer other facade grants that will come from other monies that we raise that will be unrestricted, and then maybe a business owner, needs some paint that's on 301, and that will be something we can offer. It is not likely because it's not likely that the match is going to be the same. Maybe that's going to be a 50-50 match outside of the historic district, because our focus is on the main street. We want people to be at Main Street. So, does that make you feel better about that? Did I answer your question? Anything else?
Challenge about people already got, feelings up there that got the money, they ain't done nothing with it.
Well, that's gonna be something me and Benny's gonna have to work on, and I'll let Benny talk about that in a minute. Are you talking about people that currently have requested money, or
You talking about your board member?
my board member that's got money and hasn't done what he's supposed to?
Ain't that horrible?
Well, it's not like he is a child of mine and I can't do any more than y'all can do. When we write a grant, a facade grant, then they would sign the document that, I would like to see this in place, and, the committee can determine this, that you stay a certain number of months with your business open, or you repay either 50% or 100% of that grant or whatever. I would like to see some penalties for not sticking with it. I know things happen, and businesses may have gone out of business because of COVID or a hurricane. Those are things we can't control. But I would like to see our grant process rewritten so that you are committed to a certain amount of time, or you have to pay back a portion of that grant. That's how I'd like to solve that.
Now, you still understand that if we change some things, i.e. that you folks manage it, the request still have to go before the Board of Architectural Review.
We do, and we would assist that grant requester in, getting there, and the board having all the information ahead of time, so it's not like they go to the board meeting and then, oh, we don't have your paint color, or your door's not historically appropriate. We want to go to the Board of Architectural Review with everything correct the first time, so it gets taken care of.
Has your board members, you've met with Benny, but has your other board members met with Benny?
We have not. If you would like for me to meet with our meeting.
I would like Benny to meet with all y'all to, show you what the process is and what it's all, involved in.
Hey, would you like to speak a minute, Benny?
Well, I believe eventually we're going to meet before we actually put anything in the law into place. Because like Glenn was saying, the Board of Architectural Review is the authoritarian board for the historical district. And I like the concept that's being presented tonight because of the fact that, like Stephanie said, a peer to a peer, a committee should be the first responder to someone that's in the historical district to say, hey, look, can you repair your building? We'd like for you to we'd like to give downtown Main Street a facelift, and these are some ideas, things of that nature. They're not talking about fines and penalties. When someone fails to comply, and that's when code enforcement should come, and then we will give them some amount of days, that kind of thing. But there are procedures in the historical district where, as to the Board of Governors, and I think Rex on the Board of Governors, where they have to submit their COA application, and the Board of the historical board would approve whatever this committee will act as an advisory type committee in the historical district. And like Stephanie was saying, before the application comes before the Board of Architect review, a lot of the homework would already been done according to the city ordinances. And it can make the approval process go a little bit more faster and fairer. But yes, before we implement any kind of rules or procedures or ordinances, I like to sit down with the board and we'll have discussions. I have not yet done that. This is kind of new to me too. I'm just starting to hear about it as well. But I do think it's a good idea.
Well, and it puts the money with the passion. I mean, you've got 100 hats, and I think that it's a good idea to let someone who's really interested in developing downtown. Not just that, it's not our livelihood, it's their livelihood.
It would be helpful, I had it in my first read, Stephanie had called back and forth 2 or 3 years now about certain things. And I've never hidden, when we talk about downtown, that we need a merchants association. And I think that's what this is, it's just not called a merchants association. As long as we're not giving them, first, if we're not giving them whatever we budget each year for facade grants, as long as we're still holding, they just telling us that
Give this to this.
these are the people that we've selected, or these are the people who have submitted the grants, they've been approved, and it says they've been approved through the Board of Architectural Review. And it has been a headache. I mean, everybody that we dealt with, and I counted this morning, I think we've done 22 facade grants since 2017. I don't think we've had a simple one yet. And it says that, basically in the guidelines, council checks, receipts, blah, this. I mean, it tells you everything you need. But, it can get a pain, and then making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do and get it done on time. Because like Stephanie said, 45, 60 days up to enough time for a sign, but we've seen where it's taken 9 months.
This might be a bad move, Mr. Johnson.
All right.
I just want to answer, I think Bodie's question, and we do have one that we're going to take care of that. But I guess the main reason we kind of formed this thing, Greg, Stephanie, and I have met for over a year and a half about this as founding members, and we strategically chose these board members. And we do have an issue with one, and we talked about that when we did. But we had a reason for that too, but we're going to take care of that. But the reason kind of why we want, I hate to say control of it or manage it, like Stephanie said, we get skin in the game. Yeah. I mean, me and my wife own 4 buildings now, just bought another one right behind the one that we're remodeling, and so I've got an extra incentive to help someone with a facade because I want your building 3 doors down from mine to look as good as what I'm doing. So that's really kind of what we want to do is help these people that may not know otherwise how to do this. And keep them, if you get a grant, what Glenn just said, if you haven't started at 60 days on something, we probably need to get that grant money. We have had several, we all know this, and I've done the whole year, and get to the end of the year, they didn't use the money, somebody else could have got that grant money, so there's just some things like that that we feel like that we can help the city with. So that's our main reason to kind of start.
So Glenn, does the council want to go to the next step?
Well, I'd like to ask one more question, 2 more questions. My other question, you're saying we don't ever use the money. So are y'all asking that, I hope you use the money, if the vote goes your way, y'all take it over. But if the money's not used, you want to roll the money over the following year, so therefore you have more money in the kitty?
No, we will have
We
no,
would love for that to happen, but I know that's not going to happen.
we won't have, y'all will still maintain.
That would be up to y'all. I just said we would love for that to happen, but we know it's not.
Okay, let me talk about that. From July 17 to June of 18, I'm just gonna run through and okay, let's call it 17, 18, and 19.
It's 9 o'clock, we've got a lot more to do.
No, but side grants, Johnny, we only use like 55%, 34%, and 89% consecutively in those years. No, we don't want to roll it over. The money will stay with you all. Janet will write the checks just as normal. We will just be the governing body and the assistance to push things along to make them happen faster.
So, my last question is, let's say like Steve, he got one last year, is there a moratorium on you not getting one?
I think the rules say you can't get 2 consecutive years.
2 consecutive. I don't,
One,
No,
consecutive.
one.
well, I don't think there's anything in there as of right now.
Yeah, it is. If you got one the previous year, you cannot get one the following year. You can get one after that, but you can't get 2 consecutive years.
I think you only have one per fiscal year. I'm not sure about the
No,
consecutive.
there's
We're not-
nothing
We're not
consecutive.
settling this tonight. I guess, as a council, do we direct them to move forward
Well,
with this
you need
relationship?
to, we'll have to come back with a
Ordinance?
either ordinance or resolution next month. If you're interested, I can sit down with Stephanie and Red, kind of work through some things and.
All we need to know,
Yes,
does
yes.
council want to move forward with that?
Yes. Yeah.
And I do. Everybody good with it?
But again, we still have to bring
As
it
long as
back.
you address the issue.
Well, yeah, we're not voting on it, we're
Yeah.
just.
As long as you address the issue,
Go ahead and go forward with the
We got to lay that.
So y'all want us to meet with
We want
you?
everybody to do right.
I'll get with you, Stephanie, and let's schedule a time here in the next week or so.
You worked hard on this, I know. And I'm sorry, this all landed on the same night, but
Oh, I'm good at laying those
we're
things
2
out.
hours in.
Okay, my paper that is, oh, here it is.
I don't know, I had the same.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizens report? Anybody? Yes, sir.
I think the lights on Martin Luther King Drive coming up or whatever, that's a good idea, it looks good. Good lamp post, light.
That's part of that grant.
Yeah, the Pine Street, Martin Luther King, and hopefully that will be completed here in the next month. All the poles are in, they haven't made connections yet. Still got some more sidewalks to finish pouring and some little drainage to have to take care of.
Anybody else? All right, old business, ordinance number 20-10, amend and update Title 5, Chapter 9, City of Dillon City Ordinance, second reading. Whatever
This is a comprehensive plan that we have to do every 10 years. Benny can give you some more information.
Benny's out the room.
He stepped out the room.
We talked about this.
We've got
Second reading.
I'll make a motion that we.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, ordinance number 20-11, amend zoning map for King Cook Property, AMS Service LLC, second reading.
And this is changing from the business district to residential.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, ordinance number 20-12, amend zoning map for Dillon Reynolds LLC, second reading.
This is again, a piece of property is located on Highway 34 and 11th Avenue area that is right now a business zone that's being proposed to go back to residential.
Can I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, workman's compensation.
All right, since you made the comment or statement that you're going to rescind your bid, right, on workers' comp, the only group left is Dillon Family Medicine, compensation. Get that done, just need a motion and pass.
I need a motion.
I mean, does it have to be unanimous for this?
No, he has taken his, Dr. Wallace.
I'm out of it.
So
Well, I mean, I just don't want to get back and forth.
Well, I mean,
I make the
it should be
motion,
passed, yeah.
It fails. understand what I'm going
I
through.
understand.
That was the reason I did it. Go ahead. Make a motion.
I make a motion to go to Dillon Family Medicine.
Need a second.
But, a little bit of discussion with this though is that Dr. Wallace, even though he rescinded his bid in the previous meeting, if the statutes are right, he didn't get the automatic bid unanimous. So it goes to the lowest, to the next bid. That's what you got in your minutes right here. So I mean, we can sit here and play games all night long, it don't matter.
I ain't got all that.
I mean, it automatically goes to them. It automatically, that's the state law.
It goes a lower bid, and, you know, there's no contract, I mean, I don't know what the contractual agreement is. I think at that time they said that they could choose where they want to go. I don't know that that's a good idea. I think that you probably have one doctor over there is fine, I don't care.
With the workers' comp. With the workers' comp.
Correct, correct. Workman's comp is a delicate thing, and if the wrong person gets it, then they can cost the city a lot of money. I'll just tell you that. I do probably 90% of the workman's comp in the industry in Dillon County, and there's a reason for it.
But I thought under your purchasing agreement that the purchasing agent really had control of that, which would be the city manager. And he serves to the pleasure of us, so he's an integral part of us. So I don't understand why the city manager, obviously, I was wondering where we were voting for. That's what concerned me to begin with.
The reason
we had all this.
The reason was is Dr. Wallace, as council member, based on state law, for him to provide services.
Now he's out the mix.
That is correct.
So there's only one other choice, so why do we even have to vote on it? I don't even think we need to vote.
But not only that, I mean, I did compromise with Dr. Wallace and allow your facility to get some of the physicals and the drug testing. Because if the law states,
Let me make it clear.
hold on, I mean, I'm 6 years that we're talking, you're not supposed to be able to have a dialogue.
Well, I'm out of it, so I don't have to use myself.
But the bottom line is this. To my understanding, the law states it wasn't unanimous for you to get the bid. So it goes to the next lowest bidder, everybody.
I don't see that.
Nobody made a motion.
Everything. So
No.
you don't have to make a motion, it automatically goes there.
The motion that we made before was a choice. We have a choice.
But once
We don't have a choice in this. He needs to make that direct.
No, you don't have the choice. The choice states in the law. And you don't have Jack here to tell you how the law is.
Yeah, but you need to take consideration of the financial administration of any city or county under this Article B purchasing. He's the responsible person. And
I'm
serving for
law
us.
states.
Who would be the
He
doctor?
serves the pleasure
Who's
of
the
us,
doctor at
though.
Dillon
He
Family
does.
to handle this?
We hired
They've
him.
appointed it for years, they hadn't done the right process.
Do you know? You ain't got no idea?
No.
So we're going to change everything we do because of this. Okay.
I think.
Well, I'm recluse myself because my daughter's a nurse practitioner in Dillon Family Medicine, so I don't think I should really have a discussion in here.
Well, you done voted the previous meeting.
I voted to share,
So why not?
I voted to share both of them.
Okay. I mean, so what's the deal now, Douglas? You voted in the last meeting.
Glenn, can you make a decision on anything? Can you make?
No.
Well, there is only one
I mean,
decision. Then fine, Glenn, do you think I can second it?
Yeah.
Okay, but she's not actually a board member. I second Johnny's motion then. How about that?
That's good. All in favor?
Uh,
And I will not vote on that, but that's fine. Okay, any nays? Okay, that's passed, that's fine.
What was the vote? I can see the vote, what was the vote?
It's unanimous. The
Well,
Dillon family gets it.
Can I make a quick comment before we go any further right here?
Well, you abstain.
This won't take but a second. I just feel like, and I've really done some research on this, and past month on as far as the city manager, we hire him. And he serves to the pleasure of us as elected officials. And if we can't trust in his thought on purchasing, and to me, that would be a purchasing requirement.
Well, again, professional services we don't bid out. That's in our thing. The only reason it was bid out because Dr. Wallace had provided that service.
Okay.
So it kind of,
Only because of that.
That's
But I
the-
still feel like we're infringing on your duties, even in other areas, that you should make that decision. And if there's a situation where it arises, like what we just had, I don't have a problem with it. But I just don't want to micromanage it in any way. And I think we're going down a bad path when we start micromanaging our city manager.
We've gone from 1 hour meetings to 2.5.
I mean, that's why it's been so long. Yeah. I mean, we've hired him to do this job.
And he's done a good job, it's been about what years. All right, is that resolved?
Yes.
Okay, new business, ordinance number 20-13, amend Title 5, Chapter 4, City of Dillon Code of Ordinance to allow signs to be erected at a maximum of 100 feet within the highway commercial district, first reading.
and this is actually highway number 9, Radford Boulevard and Interstate.
Yes, sir.
Right now, our ordinance allows 85 feet at height.
Well, why?
40 feet.
There's been a request from a new business.
Yes, sir.
Now, double signs out on I-95.
Now, we're not talking about billboards.
Okay.
We're
So billboards
talking-
are entirely different law.
Entirely different.
So you're talking about a regular sign at 100
Yeah,
above.
yeah.
Now, has anybody ever, and I guess if someone asks for something above that, we'll have to come back to the table again.
They go back to the board of governors for a variance.
Okay.
But this don't affect like McDonald's and Hardee's
No, sir.
with their signs.
No, sir, this is just on 95 and at the interchange of 95. That is correct. You got a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to be 100.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution number 0420-20, establish policy for the city of Dillon to donate to nonprofit groups.
Right now, we do not have a written policy.
Well, why do we have to have a resolution of that? That's
What have we done in the past?
In the past, as they've come in and requested, we've done it in-house. I did it internally myself.
I mean, to me, that looks like something that they combine in purchasing and the special duties of the city manager. Because I don't think we should be sitting here talking about every little donation that happens in the city.
And then you had the courtesy sometimes just call us and ask us.
Pardon?
You had the courtesy sometimes to call us and ask us, do you mind giving us, you remember
So if
somebody?
somebody comes to me that said that Tim Calder said you would give money to X or M, I would call him, yeah, just to make sure that you knew about it.
All right, this would be a motion to accept that these would come before us, correct?
And instead of me doing them, I might bring them to you.
Do I have a motion of anybody that
What I'd like
wants
to
to
say
come
this
before
is,
us?
if Dr. Wallace is gonna give his salary, that's what he say, it's $3,600 to the Red Cross or Helping Hands, and you give him, if he gives $5,000, I want you to notify this council members that he's giving an additional $1,400 so I can give it to somebody else too. Is that fair? He gave $5,000 to the Red Cross, did you know? All right, he makes $3,600 for serving his people. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah.
All right, so that's $1,400 difference. Johnny Elder don't give a thing to nobody, okay? He's giving it every year. So if he gives it, I'd like you to notify these council members so I can give the same thing.
We've got a motion, or do we have a motion to accept this?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Do I get a second? Motion fails.
Notify me if he gives it. I want to know.
Resolution number 05020, submit an application for a USDA grant to purchase a drone for the city of Dillon Police Department.
I'll make a motion.
I said,
Get a second. Only discussion in that I have is that, Ladda's got one, and I think, are we gonna, do you think we'll use that a bunch? Okay, you want this?
Yes.
All right.
And this is a 55-45 maximum, correct?
Now, what do you mean by training? How many people will be in the office of training?
We'll have one on every shift. They have to have a license, like a pilot's license or a fly.
FAA license.
It's a 4-week training.
I'd like to ask, I don't want a long discussion of it. How would this operate and how would you use this to, I mean, we're having another large spike in crime again, even in my law. How is this going to help or how are you going to utilize it to help out?
Search and rescue. The main one that we would use would be if we have a fleeing suspect, then we can pull a drone. If they're in a wooded area, it actually has a phone camera on, so it'll detect anybody who's we actually use LiDARs to locate one of our suspects. That would be one of the.
So it's showing good success rate with that and it's helping cut down on manpower needed to.
Yeah, we also use them for, like, that bad wreck we had at Trail 1 or on Rapid Boulevard, full drone, and so you get some aerial photos of it, so it's good graphic.
So every officer will have training?
No, not every officer, because class is about $500. We put one on every shift.
In your rotation, it's four per shift.
And part of this grant pays for education.
So every shift, you'll have like one per shift.
Right, and then have some investigation.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Councilmember report.
Speaking of the donations, again, I'd like you to start putting in the packets, every month, who's donating what, as far as donations to anybody. The gas pumps, where we at on getting them fixed?
Should be this week. Am I correct?
Should be delivered on the 12th.
So that's Wednesday.
And then we'll work on getting it done back.
Councilman David asked last month about miscellaneous. Who all has access to a credit card?
I do, David does, Kurt does, Hardy does.
Can we start putting that in the packets on the usage each month of credit card usage? Access to the time clock. When employees mess up clocking in, who has access to change the time?
Department head, or whoever they delegate to their department, and most of the secretaries.
Okay. Benny, can we try to talk to old Safeway building where it's grown up so bad to see if we can't get them to clean it up?
Yes, sir.
The cinemas, the Plaza Cinemas starting to grow up too. Can we try to reach out to them and see if we can't get them to clean it up?
Okay, sir.
Does the city have a list of all the business owners that have a state contract?
List of all business owners in the city.
Or in the surrounding county? Do we have a list?
The only ones that you would have something like that would probably, whatever they provide service that they've got a contract through the state. I guess is how to say it.
How do we know who's got a state contract is what I'm asking.
Why is it our?
When we ask our, well, when we go to purchase some things, we do it based on state contract. So, Home Industrial, I don't know if they still do, we used to buy light bulbs for them because they had state contract, things of that nature. So sometimes you'll ask on some of that stuff, tires sometimes, Morrell gets a better state contract price. We use them on that. That would be about the only thing local, I guess.
I think your office has lawn chairs.
Okay.
The police cars did we ever put them on good deals?
Not yet, we got those and some other equipment that the wastewater plant and sewer department is doing.
Okay, that's all I got. Chad?
Well, I had to do many things, but, Jen, I appreciate your help today. And I know I worried you did. Make some
No,
comments.
thank you for calling.
On that particular thing, under the 2% hospitality, under that Fund 40, you were gonna find out on that negative 37,000.
That's the difference between budgeted revenue for this year and budgeted expenses for this year.
Okay.
Is what that is.
That makes sense. The only other item I had in that particular area, and I think Johnny's already mentioned it, was that $7,500 on that DEA,
Yeah, I don't,
which was Fund 81. I did notice that. The other thing I had was on the, I think, Fund 30, under the golf course. And first of all, capital expenditures, capital expense, capital purchases, and capital outlay, are they all the same? In every category, you have different terminology.
Yes.
And I mentioned the POs. Only in those areas is all I'm talking. I don't care about POs and anything else. Those is
Capital purchases.
our capital purchases are large items, because it's kind of confusing to look at it when it doesn't match out, and you can't multiply that. The other capital expenditure, if you look at that particular one on Department 70 on the golf course, it was spent at 17,922, but it wasn't put in current budget, and I think I mentioned that to Glenn about
yeah,
negative.
that was the, was that the?
That was after the budget came out.
Yeah.
That was the pump towards the irrigation fluid.
But you all fix that so it'll pull out of the budget balance. It wasn't budgeted, but it still needs to come out.
It still shows.
That's on the state, yeah.
Say there's nothing on there, zero.
There's no, we didn't have
Negative
it current
17.
balance, that's right.
What it does, it works off your budget.
All right. Let's see if I had anything else weird. Here on that. And the storm water drainage, Fund 11, I was looking at, and what really stuck out in my mind for the first month, is overtime going to be something? I know it's just $81, but is that something we're going to be complaining about from a monthly level?
No.
But I noticed we paid some overtime in the first month.
And probably,
Well, if it's an employee that's funded through stormwater, if he works any overtime, if he has to come out and help me on the call,
They have to pay it.
he'll be paid out of stormwater.
All right. Going back under the general fund, I think I mentioned the street sweeper, the 4160 toward the bottom. You have 5,000, and it was a 303%, so it's 17,068 instead of 7520, so there's a PO there. What
it's
is,
just hadn't been liquidated.
is that a repair on the street sweeper?
Yeah, the head under the bottom that actually sucks to the street, it sucks the sand. It was sand blasted out, and we had to, and that's the first one that's been on there.
A quick comment I want to make. Street sweeper's been all over Dillon, and I appreciate you doing that. They're very visible, and they're doing a great job. The bug machine has been moving all over Dillon. I've noticed it. They've even gone around my office. But they're doing an excellent job. Let me see if I have anything else. One last thing here. Underwater treatment, Department 44. Water and sewer? Explain to me, when you get down to 3110 under dues and subscriptions on 21,000.
We have to pay NPDS permits, if something to do with jail permits that we have to pay to the
Well, can we
state.
break that out to permits instead of putting under dues and subscription? Because that just,
I can add.
Sounds like you did a lot of.
No, that's not magazines anyway.
I don't care if you have a lot of
It is,
accounts, just
I
make it
annual
look,
dues.
just like the credit card thing we talked about before. I just want to see that.
Yeah.
And miscellaneous, and, I mean, I'm just not a miscellaneous person. The dues subscription, I just don't want a miscellaneous item, if you consider that, to be punched into dues and subscription.
Especially at the 21,000.
I can
That's
change
a lot
the
of money.
wording on that and put annual
That's
dues.
scary. The other thing I want to ask, under water and sewer, and I know you say you're going to give us that on the PO, under capital outlay for water and sewer, why would we be 40-something thousand dollars above budget?
That is the one you and I talked about today. All right, we budgeted 46,000. We spent 40,000 on the vehicle part. And it shows up a negative 35, correct? And that's just because it has not been liquidated.
Okay, so you have purchases off your system and have not been liquidated off of it.
Right.
Even now, as far as the capital outlay of the total budget item, we're still not going above budget on that.
No,
You're
we're
saying
6,000.
You did that, all right.
Yeah, we're 6,000 under. It just, when she did the PO and then paid it, it didn't liquidate the PO to get it out of the system.
It will show a balance of $5,317 once that's pulled off.
A positive of 5.
Right, yes,
And the last thing, that Harris, was that something that's supposed to be in my packet?
yes.
Yeah, this is,
Mhm.
I'm glad you brought that up. You probably didn't get a pay stub, you just, if you want to see what your pay is on a monthly basis, you go to that app and because we don't do print pay stubs anymore.
Doc, I don't have anything else. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just got two strong. Like Mr. Ryan, when will they be doing anything about him? And that place he is out there on Martin.
Brown? But the only thing we can do there again would be if he's not going to sell it. We have to do something as far as eminent domain.
We need to do something about him. My next question is, on this workman comp, right? Who gonna look over the documents that get this thing?
Well, let's make sure you understand workers' comp.
I know.
I mean, what I'm saying is if an employee gets injured at work, we just have to send them to someone for them to start whatever they need to do to get them back to work, or say they're able to come back to work. You know, most of the time, most of our workers' comp stuff is a finger in the eye, a dog scratch, a cat scratch, maybe a twisted ankle, a twisted knee, a pulled muscle. Those are our, what I call mine.
Somebody got a broke foot, broke leg, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, once he go to the doctor, how do you know this doctor has the best interest for the what I'm talking about?
Well, we don't. That's where workers' comp people play that part. We don't. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is trying to avoid or minimize a time loss injury. It's not what you spend taking care of them. We're going to take care of that patient, but if a patient comes in and they work on the garbage truck and they sprain their ankle, well, they want to go home for 6 weeks and get paid. Well, they don't have to go home for 6 weeks because that'll make our insurance go up. They can go and they can sit in the office and do something and avoid that time loss injury. And that's kind of the way that we try to protect the city or protect the industry. And usually what happens is when they do go home, then they're out there doing something they ought not to, and they're injured again. I'm telling you that.
And then the workers' comp folks, once we have 3 days, I think, to get the information to the workers' comp insurer, which in this case is the municipal association's group. Janet has 3 days to get that to them. They in turn follow up with whoever the doctor is, and they're more of a caseworker and consult with the doctor, and they determine what goes back.
So the work, the cop will tell the doctor, put him on, dead to the whatever.
Well, no, they will tell them.
They will say, at this point, you can do an MRI, or at this point, you can do an X-ray. And they'll tell you where you can do that X-ray. They'll tell you where you can do that MRI. And if you want to send them to a specialist, an orthopedic guy, they'll tell you which orthopedic guy to go to, because they have relationships with.
And then there's maximum dollars amount that can be charged, but that falls under workers' compensation laws. But if it comes to light duty, again, if the doctor says, vote Washington can come back to light duty, I may say, vote it, I ain't got nothing for it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
And that's
or,
your option.
or vote it, yes, you come back to light duty, you sit here and you count paper clips for a week. I mean, it just depends on what job you have.
It's cheaper to pay for
Yeah.
that company paper.
That's all.
The only thing I got, Glenn, it was brought up to me, how many, since we changed the rates for the softball field rentals and the gate monies and all that stuff we done about this time last year, how many times has it been rented? Or, I mean, could you come back the next time?
I can tell you since January, none.
But I mean, how about like the 2 months prior to that? I mean,
I think at that point in time, we'd already committed to whoever was renting. We think the old
so
side.
since the break started back up, we haven't had any tournaments the last month and a half, 2 months.
And we have, well, we made the decision right now not to even
Okay.
to rent because of certain protocols you have to have.
No, someone was just asking me, they were saying that Loris was having a bunch of tournaments. And
They are.
And I got a niece that goes plays there, and she said, we used to come to Dillon, and I didn't know, so now I can give her an answer that, so at this time, we're not even allowed either one.
We're not even doing anything. I got you, Greg. All right.
That's it.
Nothing. All right.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?